All right, today we are going on a pretty incredible journey. We're going to follow a single bite of food as it travels through one of the most amazing systems in your body, the digestive tract. So yeah, let's dive right in. So, have you ever really thought about it? Where does your lunch go after that first bite? I mean, you chew, you swallow, and then what happens? It's not just a simple drop down into your stomach, oh no. It's this intricate, powerful, and honestly fascinating process. So come on, let's follow that food and see exactly where it's headed. Okay, but before we actually start the trip, we kind of need to understand why it's all happening in the first place. You can think of your digestive system as your body's own personal, super efficient fuel factory. Its mission really boils down to three main things. First, it has to break down food into these tiny, usable particles. Second, it needs to absorb those particles to give us energy for growth, repair, everything. And third, it's got to get rid of anything that can't be broken down. Simple in theory, right? But the how? Well, that's where things get really brilliant. All right, pencils down. The journey officially begins right now. And our first stop, the mouth. This is ground zero, where digestion kicks off the very second you take a bite. And get this, right away, two things are happening at the exact same time. First, your teeth are doing what's called mechanical digestion, literally just grinding the food up. But simultaneously, your saliva starts the chemical digestion, using special enzymes to begin breaking food down into useful nutrients. It's a real one-two punch. And speaking of saliva, get a load of this number, 1.5 liters. Any guesses what that could possibly be? Yep, that's how much saliva your mouth produces every single day. That is just an incredible amount of work your body is doing completely on autopilot just to get the whole process started. So once you swallow, the food doesn't just, fall down your throat like a rock. No, a series of muscles actually contract in this wave-like motion to push it along. There's a brilliant analogy for this. It's kind of like squeezing a tennis ball through a pair of tights. And that process, that squeezing motion, it actually has a name. It's called peristalsis. And this isn't just for your esophagus either. This muscular squeezing action is what moves food through your entire system, all the way from top to bottom. So after that trip down the esophagus, our little bite of food arrives at its next stop, a muscular bag that mixes food and drink with acid. We're talking about the stomach, of course. And it's no simple holding tank. It is a powerful churning machine that mixes everything with acid until it's a soupy mush. Okay, we're now entering what is arguably the most critical phase of the entire journey. This is where the body starts pulling out all the good stuff. Welcome to the main event, nutrient absorption. And there are three key players on the field for this stage. First up, the liver, which produces bile to tackle the fats. Then you've got the pancreas, sending in enzymes to handle carbs, proteins, and even more fats. And finally, the small intestine. This is the arena where all those nutrients are finally absorbed into your bloodstream. It's an absolutely incredible team effort. Now, here's a really crucial detail about what the liver's bile does. It performs something called emulsification. Okay, so this isn't technically digestion itself. It doesn't break fats all the way down. Instead, what it does is it takes these big blobs of fat and breaks them into tiny little droplets. Why? Well, this gives the enzymes a much, much larger surface area to attack, making them way more efficient. It's a clever prep step. So, how in the world does the small intestine absorb nutrients so effectively? Well, the secret is all about maximizing its surface area. See, its inner lining isn't smooth at all. It's completely covered in these tiny folds and millions of even tinier hair-like structures called villi. And you can really see the difference that structure makes right here. If the intestine were just a simple, flat tube, its surface area would be pretty small. Now add the folds, and it gets much bigger. But then you add the villi on top of the folds, and the surface area becomes just absolutely massive. Just how massive are we talking? Well, let me throw another surprising analogy at you. A tennis court. I know, it sounds completely unbelievable, but it's true. If you could somehow take your small intestine and lay it out completely flat, its total surface area would be about the size of a tennis court. All of that is packed inside you, working around the clock to absorb every last bit of nutrition from your food. Mind-blowing, right? Okay, so the nutrients are all absorbed. Our journey is definitely nearing its end. Now it's time to deal with what's left over. There's a fantastic, if maybe slightly gross, way to visualize this whole process. You can even try it. Imagine mashing up some food in a plastic bag with some acidic orange juice. That's your stomach. Then transfer that mush into a pair of tights. That's the small intestine. Now squeeze all the liquid out. That's your nutrient absorption. And finally, use a tea towel to wring out the very last drops of water. And that is exactly what the large intestine does.
So, the large intestine's main job is to absorb water from whatever's left, the undigested food, which is mostly fiber. What's left over after that becomes solid waste, or feces, which is then stored in the rectum before, it's removed from the body.
And with that, the incredible journey of that single bite of food is complete. It's gone from a meal to fuel to waste. The whole cycle is finished. So let's just run through that entire journey one last time, real quick. It starts in the mouth, travels down the esophagus, gets churned up in the stomach, has its nutrients absorbed in the small intestine, and water removed in the large intestine, before finally being stored and expelled. Just a perfect, efficient, step-by-step process. The most incredible part of all of this is that it happens automatically, every single day without you ever having to think about it, which really leads to a final thought. If your digestive system is this complex and amazing, just imagine what other incredible systems are working inside you right now to keep you going.